Hello and welcome to Bloomberg Quint. We're here to wrap the markets for you. After a strong start to the day, the Nifty actually did give up most of its early gains. At one point, it even fell below that 8400 mark. However, it managed to close above that level. So 19 points higher for the Nifty 50 index as metals and cement stocks lent support. But Agam, it was an average day as far as turnovers are concerned.
I would say that for the cash markets, we've seen about 18,000 crores with respect to turnovers, but we have seen a pickup in activity when it comes to the derivatives market. So on the National Stock Exchange, it stands at around 4.3 lakh crore rupees, and I suspect that has also shown up in the accumulation in futures.
Yes, Agam. So when it comes to the Nifty open interest, it's higher by about 6.5%. The Nifty Bank Index saw an open interest accumulation of about 4.5%.
Right. Well, on the whole, when it comes to the options market, as you have seen, we have seen turnovers pick up. What's really happened is also unwinding in the lower level options. So we have seen unwinding in the 8300 calls and puts, and it's the same for the 8200 as well as the 8100 mark. What's really happening, what's interesting right now when it comes to maximum open interest distribution here, we have seen the 8300, the 8200 as well as the 8400 puts, all of them having substantial amount of open interest right now. So all these form as base for the lower levels. On the upside, well, that is still to be decided, but for now 8500 has the most amount of resistance. On the whole, while it may look like a 200-point range, we have to remember that because of the lower base formation, for now it's looking like the markets are ready to move upwards, at least in the near term.
Let's hope so, Agam. And I believe some sort of a pre-budget rally has already sort of started, because the, at least the Nifty index is up a little over 3% in 2017 so far. That brings us to the Nifty movers. Well, it was the cement pack which was seeing strength today. So you were seeing Ultratech Cement, you have Grasim, you have Ambuja, and even ACC Cement, which you can't see here, which were sitting on strong gains. Metal stocks also bounced back today after some profit booking that was seen yesterday. So Hindalco, Tata Steel, both sitting on gains of over 3+%. Citi has upgraded Tata Steel to buy from neutral, and they have a target price of 575. They've said that one can play the China supply side reform via Tata Steel, and you can see that reaction on the stock. BHEL was another notable gainer, 3.5% higher. On the other hand, telecom stocks were laggard. So you have Idea Cellular, Bharti Airtel figuring amongst your top losers, as were NTPC and Hero MotoCorp. But Agam, let's talk about earnings.
Right. So, well, you know what, before I go to the earnings, we have the poll of the day. And well, for that matter, we have the question was, a slew of mid-cap companies report earnings today. Which one of these will perform the best? And well, we've had in options Hatsun Agro, KPRT Technologies and Sterlite Technologies, and 26% have said Hatsun Agro, 29% have said KPRT Technologies. Well, both these companies are yet to report their numbers today. They're expecting post-market, that is any time from now. But 46% of you have said Sterlite Technologies, and Sterlite Technologies has seen a very, very good quarter. Well, why don't you tell us a little more about the numbers?
Agam, I'm talking about consolidated numbers. So revenues for the quarter for Sterlite Technologies grew about 23%. That was mainly driven by a good performance in the international business. So export revenues grew about 74%. EBITDA margins saw an expansion of about 120 basis points, and it was largely led by improvement in utilization and better project execution. And net profit grew about 63% to 49 crores. So on an overall basis, prima facie, they do look like a good set of numbers, and that was something that we saw on the stock reaction as well.
Right.
It did come off a little bit after they announced their earnings, but still 1.5% gains for the day.
So gains for Sterlite Technologies, but let's also take a look at the broader markets in general, what's happened there. We're looking at 3 gainers for every 2 losers for now when it comes to the advanced decline ratio in the Nifty 500. With respect to some of the gainers, we have seen again a lot of strength in the mid-cap cement stocks, but it was Rain Industries which was the biggest gainer in this index, up by as much as 14%. Is followed by Welspun India, up 9.3%. Tata LC Gujarat State Petro, as well as Ramkrishna Forging. All of these have gained over 6.5%. With respect to losers, we have Trident Limited. Now, this has also come up with its earnings, and while we have seen an improvement in the bottom line, well, this looks like markets have been disappointed with what they've seen in the Trident's quarterly earnings, which is why it's down by as much as 5%. It's followed by STC, Repco India, as well as REC, and followed by GSW Energy. All of these are losing anywhere between 3 to 4%. Another stock that stood out in trade today is, of course, PVR. This is after we come to understand that Warburg Pincus has bought 14% stake in the company for a sum of 820 crores, because of which we have seen a slight uptick. Of course, that said, Shraddha, with respect to tomorrow, we're going to have some big banks coming in with their quarterly earnings as well.
That's correct, Agam. Axis Bank and Yes Bank, both are the numbers that we're looking at. Again, private sector banks. Remember,
Right.
IndusInd Bank did positively surprise when it came to its Q3 numbers. But having said that, Yes Bank, yes, expectations are pretty high for that private sector lender. We
Right.
should expect a good set of numbers, profit growth, above average industry credit growth. So good numbers as far as Yes Bank is concerned. But of course, we need to keep an eye out for any management commentary in terms of the fundraising. Remember, they had their QIP issue, which had sort of failed back in September, October, so in the previous quarter. Axis Bank, again, it's going to be a little dicey because of their watch list and their corporate stressed assets. On a year-on-year basis, the numbers may look a little depressed, given the fact that a lot of their watch list slippages have turned into NPAs, increasing the provisioning requirements in the recent quarters. Having said that, of course, asset quality is going to remain the biggest driver for that stock. Having said that, both these stocks have done pretty well and have picked up, outperformed the Bank Nifty index in the last month or so. Hence, it will be important to see how they react in case they fail to sort of meet those expectations. But with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching Bloomberg Quint, and we'll see you tomorrow at the same time.